In this video, I'm going to show you how to solve the 7th orb in the Felcycle Mount, secret challenge puzzle. I recommend you keep up to date with all 6 orbs active before you go ahead and start with this one. You can find links to those in the description down below. Now for this one, you're going to have to make your way to Legion, so you're going to use your Dalaran Hearthstone that's going to take you to the Legion map. Now in the Broken Isles, we're going to be going to Azuna, located right over here, and onto the southern isle, the Isle of the Watchers, right? And we're going to be going to this flight path at the northern side here. This is to get a pet, which you might already have, by the way. But if we go ahead and we speak to Marin Bladewing over here, you will see here if you do have Revered Reputation, you can buy yourself the Fledgling Warden Owl. Alternatively, you can also get this off the auction house. And for the purpose of this video, you're going to want to go ahead and summon your Fledgling Warden Owl so that you have it active around you. Now we have to find owl statues that are glowing one of 4 colors, and you have to visit them in each color. These colors are going to be red, green, blue, and purple. You'll have to visit them in those 4 colors with the owl summoned around you. If your pet owl is not around you, it's not going to count, because these statues will glow these colors at different intervals. So you'll have to fly around to each statue to see if it has the color you need, and then keep flying around to, repeat the process until you find all 4 colors. Just always make sure that your Fledgling Warden Owl is summoned. For some reason, sometimes it will just dismiss itself, so be careful of that. You'll see this owl statue over here has the green one. You just have to stand close enough to the statue until you eventually get the magnifying glass showing you that you've completed it. Once you've done so, you will have to find the remaining colors around at the other statues. Here you can see is a red one. You go ahead and you stand in it like this. Then you'll go ahead and find the blue one that looks like this until you get the magnifying glass above your head. And now we just have to find purple. This is what the purple one looks like. Make sure you have your owl summoned and get near it so that you can get the magnifying glass for this one. Just like this. There you go. Now there are 2 ways to check if you've done this correctly. The first will be your owl. You'll see here your pet owl, once you've collected all 4 colors, will then get this little orb that bounces above its head. Now this doesn't matter if you've dismissed and had to resummon your owl multiple times. There's no timer on when you collect the colors. But once you've collected one of all 4 colors, you should get this orb to appear above your owl whenever you summon it. Another way to check if you've done it correctly and you've gotten all 4 colors is by going back to the Felcycle Mount room and going to the pedestal for the 7th orb and seeing that there are 4 little shiny yellow orbs floating around it, one representing each color that we had to collect. We're now ready for the next step. For the next step, this takes place on the Isle of Watchers, and we're going to be going to the Vault of the Warden's dungeon. So go ahead and make your way inside the dungeon. Now essentially what you're going to go ahead and do is kill every single boss inside the dungeon. When you do get to the Vault of Mirrors and you see Glazer, you're going to have to make sure you loot this boss because we're going to be doing a special puzzle in this room towards the end. So go ahead, defeat him, loot his body, make sure you get everything. That will ensure that his body despawns at the end. And then quite simply continue on eliminating all the bosses in this dungeon. Once you're done with this room, you're going to take the elevator on this side to continue on to the last boss. Now, when you get to the last boss, it's very important you pick up the light orb on the left-hand side, and then we're going to go ahead and defeat Cordana, the final boss. Just, one-shot her like you would normally. And then we're going to head backwards, and we're going to make our way to the very beginning of the dungeon with the light orb above our head. So progress back to the elevator over here, and then go ahead and take it all the way up. And then from here, you're going to make your way to the elevator in the dead center of this room. Hopefully, I can make it in time. And I did. Nice. Now, at the beginning of the dungeon, we're going to be making our way to a doorway that has now been opened. Now, this doorway is located over here. So at the beginning of the dungeon, it is going to be this doorway located here. Now, at this point, you're going to need to make sure you have 2 things. First off, your Fledgling Warden Owl needs to be summoned. And then you need to have your Torch of Pyreth active as well. Once you have this, you can walk into this room. You will see the colors glowing around in a circle. And you can go ahead and pick up the Sentry Statue. Now, once we've got the Sentry Statue, we can head to where Glazer was, that big-eyed enemy. Now, once you have the statue, you're going to go to the elevator again at the northern side, and we're going to head back to where the Glazer enemy was, the one with the eye with the puzzles on the floor. So when the elevator gets down to the bottom, the boss is going to be all the way on this side over here on the right. So make your way there. Now, once you get to this boss chamber over here, you're going to stop at this location over here. And you're going to use the Sentry Statue that you picked up, and you're going to go ahead and place it right over here in front of you, just like this. And this will go ahead and, put it right here. Now you're not going to use it just yet because this is going to activate a puzzle that's going to be a little bit complicated, so I'm going to try explain to you what you can do to make it simple. Now you're going to need an add-on for this called Statue Solver. I've included a link to it in the description of this video. You just have to make sure it is loaded so that you can see Statue Solver is loaded as an add-on that's active. Once you have this active, you just type /SS, and when you hit enter, it will open up Statue Solver like this. Now what this is for is to track the locations of changes that happen within this grid. Now you have to pick a side to stand on that you use as your point of reference. I'm going to use the right-hand side, so directly on the right from the bridge over here as my point of reference. You can see my grid matches the exact amount of squares we have in front of us. Now when I activate the statue, it's going to put warden statues all over the place in different numbers. So for example, if I left click in the exact same pattern that they appear like this, in case they appear like, you know, one over there, etc., matching this grid of gray equals they're not there, red equals they are. So now that you have the add-on ready, we have a little bit of work to do. This is probably going to take you around half an hour, maybe more if you're watching the video and trying to understand as well. We're going to interact with the statue and we're going to go ahead and start up this sequence. You will see this is going to bring statues up on the grid in front of us, and we now need to align ourselves with our statue solver over here. All right, so once you have this puzzle grid set up like this and you see all the warden statue locations, you're going to pick a base point. For me, I use the right-hand side of the bridge over here, and I stand a little bit off center here so that you can see perfectly whether a statue is in a slot or not. And quite simply, you're going to match this grid to the one you have of the add-on, so we know there is 11, we have 2 and 7, we have 17, 13 and 18, we have 14, and we have 10. This matches exactly the layout we have over here. And we're going to be using this to track the layout of this grid all the time. But while we're doing that, we need to track every single interaction of every single button, all 25 of them. So this is going to take some time. So looking at the grid right now, we'll start with number 2. If we right-click number 2, because when you press a button, you'll see here, it's going to change itself as well as 4 other locations. So if I press this one and I head back to my base point, you'll see 4 other changes will occur along with the 2 changing. So if you cross-reference over here from the left-hand side, we know that 16 has been added over here. We know that 22 is over here because it wasn't over there previously. We know 15 has been added. And we can see 18 over here has disappeared off of the boards. And we're going to go ahead and mark that. So when we know that these are the 5 changes for statue number 2, including itself. Now for this, you can go ahead and click confirm. And if you hover over number 2, you can see the interactions that it has. It affects 2, 15, 16, 18, and 22. But because we've activated number 2, we need to go ahead and change this order as well. So if we go ahead and we hit 2, 15, 18, 22, and 16, our grid now looks like this as mirrored directly in front of us. And if we hover over 2, we know that 2 is solved. We now need to solve for 1 to 25 for all the other numbers. So we can go ahead and do 22. So if I right-click 22 and I press it, I can see what changes happen. I saw immediately 17, 14, and 20 changed. And I can see that 2 came back. 2, which was no longer there, is now back. So the changes for 22 are 22, 17, 14, 20, and 2. To make it simpler for you at this point, I usually go ahead and I press those same numbers over here on the left-hand side. So I go 2, 14, 17, 20, and 22, and then I hit confirm. You'll see when we hover over 22, we can see its interactions, and you should see that your grid is now going to match perfectly what we have in front of us. We can now go ahead and track 20. So I'm going to go ahead and go to pillar number 20, press this one over here. I can immediately see that 7 changed. I can see that 12, 18, and 22 also came up. So we can see what 20 changed. Again, like I said, just press these numbers just once on the left-hand side. So 7, 12, 18, 22, and of course 20 as itself. Hit confirm. Make sure that your left-hand side matches exactly. If it doesn't, you've made a mistake somewhere along the line and it means you have to start again. So like I said, pay attention because this is going to take a little bit of time. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to track 18 because we haven't done this one before. Press 18, see what changes. Immediately I saw 2, 11, 23, and 20 changed. So we can go ahead and press 2, press 11, press 18, press 23, press 20, hit confirm. So we now have 2, we have 18, we have 22, and we have 20. Let's go ahead and track 23. So we hit 23, see what changes. So these ones came up like this. So press them on the left-hand side, 7, 9, 18, 25, and the 23, of course, because it disappeared because it interacts itself when you press it. Hit confirm. We can now track 25, so right-click 25. Let's go see what 25 changes. Go ahead and press it. See what changes. That came up, that came up, that came up, and that came up. So for 25, it was 1, 11, 21, 23, and 25. Hit confirm. So we're going to match exactly what we have here. So 5, 4, 3. We have the 8, the 9, the 10, the 15, the 20, the 19, the 24, the 13, and the 12, the 22, and the 21. So this matches exactly what we have on the grid, as you can tell. And now you can see if we hover over every single number, we have basically mapped what every single button does. Now, very importantly, you need to make sure that this grid matches exactly what you have in front of you, because now we're going to solve it. So you can see my grid matches exactly. Now we're just going to go ahead and press solve. And solve, if I go ahead and I move this up over here, so out of the way, you're going to see in my chat, it's going to give me found the solution in 7 steps. I have to press 8, 24, 4, 20, 18, 2, and 20, and that will solve everything. So look at your grid, find where 8 is. So 8 is this number here. We're going to press 8. We're then going to press 24, which is my bottom right, second last one. So 24. Then I have to press number 4, which is this one over here. And then it says 20, which is going to be this one over here, as you can see with the grid. So press 20. Then we're going to press 18, which is the new one that just came up like this. Then we're going to press number 2, which is right over here. And then lastly, we're going to press 20 yet again, and this should make the last ones all go down just like this. And that is how you can solve the puzzle. And then you'll see here at the owl statue, the one that we placed at the beginning, we'll have a chest that we can interact with. And this will give us the Warden's Mirror. If we return to the Felcycle, you'll see the 7th orb is now complete. It has the big orb, and we are done. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it helped you, and thank you so much for watching.